Everyone, Gaura Geisen here, and today I'm just going to give a demo on the three Silicon Macs that were recently launched on November. And I will just give a walkthrough, like comparing all of these, and let's see according to you which one is better and all. So I'll just giving a walkthrough, and according to me, which is the best, and hopefully you can also check within these within this comparison and check whether which one you like. Also, you can just get it. And so let's just move on. So we have the MacBook Air M1, the MacBook Pro M1, and the Mac Mini. And if you see for the MacBook Air, there are different color options. You can get silver, space gray, or gold. Well, for the MacBook Pro, you just have the space gray and the silver one, and for the Mac Mini, it's just the silver. And then we'll just take a quick look on it. And here, this their Retina display is given. Both of them are 13.3 inches, the MacBook Pro and the Air. But for the Mac Mini, there won't be any Retina display. It's just a normal PC. So why you need a Retina display? And then we have all three of them are 8 cores, and they have up to 16 gigabyte unified memory. If you want, you can just upgrade. They normally it's by default it's 8 gigabyte, but if you want to pay an extra $200 for this, you can just go on for it. And then we have up to 2 terabyte storage also they have, but they have 256 gigabytes. If you want to upgrade it, you have to pay a little bit more money, not a little bit, too much for 2 terabytes. Whereas for the whereas for the MacBook Pro, MacBook Air M1, it has up to 18 hours of battery life, and for the MacBook Pro M1, it has up to 20 hours. But normally, before this event was launched, normally the MacBook Airs would have a better battery life than the MacBook Pros, but this time the MacBook Pro now is on the lead. And we have Touch ID for the MacBook Air, but the MacBook Pro has both the Touch bar and Touch ID. So I don't think if you want both the Touch bar and the Touch ID, you can go for the MacBook Pro M1. And then we have its system on chip, and it has the Apple M1, and all of them they have the same old details and all of that. Everything is same right here. And this thing is that this one gets up to 8 core GPU, meaning you can have a little bit lower than that. And the unified memory is also everything is same. Storage as well, yeah, nothing to say about that. Well, let's just take a look on the display. Now on this display, you can see that both these are Retina displays, and pixels are a little bit like they're just the same. But the thing about the MacBook Air, it has 400 nits brightness, whereas this MacBook Pro M1, it has 500 nits. So that means it can be a little bit brighter and all of that such. And they have really that white color and true to technology and all of that. Whereas for the Mac Mini, the display, you can just get one. You can it can support a display to up to 6K, and also a display up to 4K, which is sold separately. You can take the Pro Display XDR or any other monitor which is there within the web or Amazon or like that. And then we have the size and its weight, and the height of the MacBook Air M1 is 41 or 1.61 centimeters, and for the height of the MacBook Pro, it's just the same. It's 1.56 centimeters only. That is, and for the height of the Mac Mini, it's 1.4 inches, or you can say 3.6 centimeters, and its width is also 13.41 centimeters. The MacBook Air, and it's just the same for both the MacBook Pro and the MacBook Air. But for the Mac Mini, it's a little bit lower. Its width is 19.7 centimeters, and depth is 21.24 in the MacBook Air, whereas it's just the same for the MacBook Pro. But for the Mac Mini, it's a little bit also lower, 19.7 centimeters. And if you see here's weight, it's 1.29, this is 1.4, and this is 1.2. So if you take in portability places and all, the Mac Mini is a little bit weightless, and the MacBook Air, which is really easy portable laptop, if you're thinking about portability, less weight and all, no, you can go for the MacBook Air. Then let's take a look at the camera. Both of them have a 720 pixel FaceTime HD camera, whereas for the Mac Mini you don't have. And let's take a look on this audio here. You have stereo speakers, you have wide stereo sound, and it has also support for Dolby Atmos playback, and it has a 3 mic array with directional beamforming. So it has a really good mic and a really good stereo speaker, and really has nice stereo sound and all of that. And you also have a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. So you have an headphone jack on your Mac and MacBook Air. And for the MacBook Pro, it's having a high dynamic range stereo speaker, which is really good high dynamic range and all of that. And it has a 3 mic array. It also has a mic and all, but it's really cool features and all of that. Whereas for Mac Mini, we just have a speaker, but not many of them would be going for the speaker in the Mac Mini, because they say it's audible, but it's not that kind of good. And as you see how the MacBook Pro and the MacBook Air speakers function, whereas for the Mac Mini is just a normal speaker, like it does not have any much of that those type of functions. So you can buy a separate speaker if you want for the Mac Mini. And then we have the same headphone jack and all of that. But the thing is that for the audio output, we have an HDMI 2.0 port for the Mac Mini. Well, if you want an output port and all of that, you need to buy a dongle. We'll think about accessories later. And now let's take a look at the keyboard and the trackpad. For the MacBook Pro, it's like, yeah, blacklit magic keyboard. It has 78 US and ISO keys. US means not that type of US, it's like ISO keys and all of that. And it includes 12 function keys and 4 arrow keys, like how normal computers have. And they have an inverted T arrangement. And it has Touch ID sensor, it has a light sensor, and it has a force touch trackpad. And the trackpad in the MacBook Air is, yeah, it's good, but the MacBook Pro, if we go, it has a really very low ISO keys and US keys compared to MacBook Air. And it also includes a 4 key arrow keys, and it has an inverted T arrangement. But the thing is that it has a touch bar, so you can use functions within the touch bar itself, and ambient light sensor, which is the same. But the trackpad is really humongous compared to the MacBook Air. It has a really big trackpad, the MacBook Pro, and if you see right here, they literally have all the same features. But for the Mac Mini, does not involve you don't have a magic keyboard or a magic mouse in the box itself, so you need to buy it separately, the magic keyboard and the magic mouse. I will get on to the accessories a little bit later. So now we'll just take a look on wireless, how it functions wirelessly. All of them have this Wi-Fi 6 as well as a Bluetooth 5.0 wireless technology. So it has Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. You don't need to get a separate device for it as such. Then we'll take a look on the ports. As you see, all of these devices only have 2 Thunderbolt ports, or we can say USB 4 ports. And that's pretty kind of odd, because if you see the previous Mac models, including the Mac Mini, the Mac Mini actually had 4 Thunderbolt ports, but now it only has 2. But it still has 2 USB-A ports, which is at least good, that you at least can insert a USB. And it has an HDMI 2.0 port, as I already said earlier, and it also has an Ethernet port, which is actually pretty good. Now, secure authentication, it's pronounced like that. So we have the MacBook Air has Touch ID sensors, whereas MacBook Pro, it has both the touch bar and a Touch ID sensor. And the Mac Mini does not have any of that as such. And you can also do Apple Pay. You can pay it on the web itself with your Mac. You can pay it all. And video calling, all of these have FaceTime video and all. And they have video calls over Wi-Fi, and it can be on any FaceTime enabled device. And audio calling, it also has FaceTime audio and all of that. And you can also call over Wi-Fi. So Wi-Fi calling is there in all of those devices. And Siri, all of them have the same thing. But I don't know what this 6 thingy doing here. And then power and battery, the same thing, but this time the MacBook Pro has more power than the MacBook Air. But normally it's actually the MacBook Air in the lead, but this time the winner goes to the MacBook Pro M1. And well, that's it for the MacBook Pro. But what type of Mac should you get? So we'll just take a detail on the accessories that you find here. So you can find a lot of Mac softwares. You have Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro. They are the only 2 Mac softwares which are really pretty good. Final Cut Pro for video editing and Logic Pro for audio making and all, but it's pretty expensive, $399 or $299 both respectively. And then we have the displays and adapters. You can take the Pro Display XDR or an LG Ultra Fine 4K display. That is all for secondary displays. And you can get a Thunderbolt 3 USB-C to Thunderbolt 2 adapter. You can find many of these more here, and you can find other all accessories including Apple Care for the Mac. And so let's take a look on this Magic Mouse and Magic Trackpad. This is the Magic Trackpad right here. It's a little bit pricey, $129. Too much pricey, we can say. And for the space gray version, you need to pay $20 more. So that's it for the Magic Trackpad. It only has this Lightning to USB cable. It expects side weight compatibility. And then you have this Magic Keyboard also. These are all the accessories for the Mac Mini. And then you can just see all of this. And then we can find this. Then there is the Magic Mouse as well. Here's a Magic Mouse, space gray one. So this is the space gray one. You can get the silver one, which is a little bit more down at this price, but still expensive. So here we go. This is the Magic Mouse. It looks pretty good. So these are the accessories for the Mac Mini. And So let's take a look on some more. 13-inch, yeah, this is for the cover for the MacBook Pro. And then we have, these are the displays. I mean, these are like the recommended displays, but you can find even more on the stores, online stores, or even in your store as well. You can find, but they still have to support this 4K display, and all of that should be happening, the 4K display support and all for the Mac Mini. So here's the Pro Display XDR. It's really very cool, but the thing is that when I just click the buy button, it is too much. I really have to say it's too much. You really need to pay $1,000 for a nano texture glass, and for Pro Stand also you need to pay. I mean, no need to buy the Pro Display XDR, but if you're a really professional kind of guy, and I mean it's worth it, but really it's too overpricey. That's what we need to say. Then you have this LG ultra fine 4K display, and the 5K display is also there, but there also, this is $699. This one, LG ultra fine 4K display, and the 5K one is if you can see, wait, we'll avoid that, and it's $600 more. So you can find, even also if you're interested in these, because these three monitors are really pretty good. They're really pretty good. We can say they're really advanced, and all these are like the best monitors you can find out. I mean, there are even more better than these, but these are the recommended from Apple. But if you want to find better monitors, you can get it from the online store also. You can get it more. I will tell those in my later videos. Then we have that's the end of the accessories.